Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by my buddy. Wherever he goes, I go too. Now let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome everybody to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Duff Beer. Duff, beer that you can drink. Welcome everybody to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And this is a show where we like to analyze movies and apparently TV, and as a method of, getting better about the whole creating process. Anytime you're making something, it is an incredibly long and convoluted process at times. Even the simplest of things, I think people get surprised once their first time kind of getting that taste of movie magic is a little surprising. Like, oh my God, I didn't realize there were all these things to consider whenever someone wants to just make like a 60-second FaceTime video for their, website. Like, I just need something to put on my website that says who I am in my business. And you go, okay, well, here's 10 things to think about. Like, what is your background? What kind of lighting is going to best reflect the kind of business that you do? Because, right, if you're a massage therapist or if you're a basketball coach, those are completely different, businesses and have different clients and different recording scenarios on a multitude of levels. And so any given topic could take, just a completely different rabbit hole and path. And so I think people are always surprised by the amount of detail that goes into any video, let alone an entire movie or TV show. And I feel like doing these episodes helps me get better at the way I think about it and hopefully the way I execute it.
Very well put.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I would only second that. I think that my respect and admiration for anybody who is in film, or just enjoys film and cinema in general, like, is heightened because of all of this. So, agreed. I love going over all these movies and shows and everything, and just having these discussions, like we did about devs last week, and stuff to kind of really get down into the weeds of what something is really about. And actually, my son, who's 4, he's really started to ask the question, what is this about? At the end of every movie. And a lot of times, actually, like pretty much all the time, he always gets it right. And he tells us what it's about. And so it's pretty cool. I think we might start a YouTube channel where he actually like reviews movies.
Whoa.
We were thinking about it. My wife had that idea today.
That's cool.
I was like, yeah, please.
Dude, yeah, you know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that's cool. Yeah, keep me posted on that.
Yeah, we'll do.
Nice. So, yeah, what are we going to do today?
Today, we are doing specifically the pilot, but we are doing Cheers, the series Cheers.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, just watch the pilot. So I would pause this, go watch the pilot, because we're going to talk about a bunch of spoilers and stuff about and the pilot's only 25 minutes long, so it's not a lot of time suck or anything. And it's, believe me, when you turn it on, I mean, your nostalgia will come flooding back like the River Nile. So you'll enjoy it.
Only too true. And we'll probably touch a little bit on things that happen later in the series, but not in any great detail because I'm not that far into the series myself. I'm on like season 4. But if you're not familiar with some of the backstory not backstory, but some of the events that happen along the way, it's a heavily episodic thing. I don't think it'll really ruin anything, but just maybe be aware of, those kind of spoilers as well. But we will heavily focus on the pilot.
Yeah,
for sure. And we'll talk about a few things, the cinematography, TV comedy writing, the theme song, and other such stuff.
So a quick synopsis of the show. The regulars of the Boston bar Cheers share their experiences and lives with each other while drinking or working at the bar where everybody knows your name. Created by James Burrows, Glen Charles, and Les Charles, featuring Ted Danson as Sam, Shelley Long as Diane Chambers, Nicholas Colasanto as Coach, Rhea Perlman as Carla, George Wendt as Norm, and John Ratzenberger as Cliff Claven.
With my missus, I'm on my way. Cheers. Yeah, just a sec. Is there an Uni Pantuso here?
That's you, Coach.
Speaking.
I'd like 2 drafts and a scotch on the rocks. You know, there's a group over there arguing about the sweatiest movie ever made.
The what?
What movie did people sweat the most in?
That's easy. Rocky 2. No, not even close. Body Heat. Sweat City.
Ben-Hur. The boys in that galley sweat like pigs.
No, Alien. That's what. Alien! Buckets.
This is the night before my wedding, and I'm in the middle of a sweat contest.
Hey, speaking of sweat, here's a little-known fact. Women have fewer sweat glands than men, but they're larger and more active.
Oh, the human body, huh?
Consequently, they sweat more.
Really?
Sure. How about you, miss? What are your perspiration patterns?
I love this show so much.
It's so good.
So
It's
yeah,
so good.
was it one of those things where you don't really feel like watching it, but once you kind of got into 5 minutes or so, I was like, man, I forgot how much fun this group is.
Not even. It was literally the first second. The first second it was on, I was like, oh my god. It was like you had a really long, hard day, and the moment it's that first moment you get into bed.
Mm-hmm.
Just that you've been on your feet all day, and that first moment where you get into bed where you're just like, oh my god, nothing could feel better than this. That's how it felt. Just like home. It was just amazing. And then just piling on, character after character coming back in, the music, like the theme song, the feeling, like the wood of the bar, and the surrounding and everything. It just was, yeah. I was 8 years old again. 10 years old.
Absolutely. Which, we saw growing up, here and there, bits and pieces. I couldn't tell you a single episode that I watched as a kid other than the send-off. I remember watching the finale and the cast all sitting around talking about it after the finale, and them all just kind of taking Q&A from, I don't even know who. But it really just that image of there's a bar and there's a group of friends that all kind of hang out at this bar together, and life happens, and comedy ensues, obviously. The one moment I always remember is Woody Allen when he joins the show in season 4. Mm-hmm. At some point along the way, he is dating a girl named Kelly, and he sings the song Kelly, 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 or I. Like, that's about the only real thing I can ever remember from the show. But same, like, I remember finally it's like, okay, I probably should revisit this and hit play, and as soon as you see the sign outside on the street, you're just there. You're just automatically like, man, this feels like home a little bit.
Yeah. So tell me what you want to talk about cinematography wise, because there was some interesting stuff going on.
I was just blown away because there's only been one other sitcom that ever blew me away with the cinematography, which was Friends, and we'll talk about that next week. But turning this on and hitting play, I was just like confounded. I was like, wow, this is not your typical sitcom cinematography. There's just so much camera movement and reframing and tracking shots, in compositional choices that are really close, even though this feels like a stage, and it is obviously a stage, but it feels like a theater stage, which you don't normally get that personal on as an audience member. And this being a stage with cinematography, you suddenly felt much more connected with the characters. Like at one point, and this is something you see in films, you don't see this in sitcoms, where there's a shot of Diane sitting at the bar, and she's making a comment, and in the background, Coach is there. And as she finishes her line, Coach starts walking up to the bar to say his line, and we start widening out from this medium close-up on Diane. We widen out until Coach is in the frame too and delivering his line, and it's all one planned shot, like you would see on a film set, not on a freaking sitcom. And there's people exiting the frame and kind of establishing a new frame. They use a lot of the blocking to explore the bar, the space in there, and all the cinematography opportunities, and that never stops. Like I'm at the beginning of the 4th season, and they constantly are trying to find out where is the blocking of the scene going to take us, and how can we capture that in a new and interesting way. Like, oh, we're going to explore and create a space, because in this kind of environment, right, you're in a bar, everything you say can be heard, 10 feet away. But if you allow it to, the cinematography can create these little nooks and crannies within the bar just by choosing a close-up, and say the characters walk over towards the door to have a separate conversation. And if you just punch in there a little bit more, it feels like they're getting, their own private space. And depending on the moment, they might completely interrupt that with someone on the way opposite end of the bar, commenting on this little secret whisper that was just made, or they might just let it be a private moment. And that's part of the suspense of the show, is not knowing how the rest of the bar is going to play into any given scene. And one of the things I love about this show is there are so many bit parts in the episodes, and it seems like that happens here way more than normal, than you would otherwise see on some of these other shows. Hold on one second.
Yeah, there was one shot in particular. I totally agree, but there was one shot in particular when Diane's fiance leaves her, and everybody's looking at her, right? So they cut back to the whole bar looking at her, and that's like basically a 90-degree shot from the straight-on shot that you're used to in the sitcom, or in any sitcom, really, right? You have that straight-on shot, but it's not kind of angled back at everybody. It's pretty much from Diane's point of view, from the door, right back to everybody. And I was like caught off guard. I was like, oh my God, like, wow, that they are really exploring the entirety of the usable space here to make it feel like it's not a set, like it is an actual bar, by doing that 90-degree shot. It was fantastic. It was like very welcoming, and on the pilot too, to say this is the whole space that we're going to explore. It's the whole thing. It really sets it up amazingly well. And
they break out quite a few shallow depth of field moments too that you don't really see almost ever in a lot of sitcoms. It's a rarity in most sitcoms. It's usually just for a point of emphasis. But here it feels like they break them out with, pretty regularity. And the cinematography is just one of those things that I watched this and I was like, wow, I can see the influence that this had on Friends and other shows for sure. And yeah, I was just really, really blown away by that. In terms of the comedy and the TV writing stuff, unless there was something else you want to comment about on cinematography.
No, I agree.
So one of the things I really love about this show that caught me way off guard. So normally on a TV comedy sitcom, the rule is 3 jokes to a page. That's your minimum. If you can get in more, all the better. But you need to be getting 3 laughs a minute. And here, they're not that hard pressed to do that. And maybe that was just their own style, or maybe that rule hadn't really come into full effect yet. I don't know. My impression was they were just very comfortable letting some of these characters and some of these moments happen as they happen. I never felt forced into a joke. I always felt like this is where they want the joke to land. And maybe that's a part of their rehearsal process, and also understanding that we are recording in front of a live studio audience. And they say that, other than the pilot, they say that at the beginning of every episode after. They're going to tell you, Cheers was filmed in front of a live studio audience. And if it's like Cliffy, he might say, here's a little known fact. Cheers was filmed in front of the live studio audience. like they remind you that because all those laughs that they're getting are genuine laughs. It's not a laugh track that they're inserting at the end of post, which happens a lot. And there's certain shows that do it way over the top. Like, to me, Big Bang Theory is criminal. Like, if you strip out the laugh track of Big Bang Theory and the laugh track of Cheers, I'm still going to laugh at a lot of what happens in Cheers. Like that Coach 100%. Moment, right? When Coach is answering the phone, he's like, is there an Ernie Pantuso? Coach, that's you speaking.
So good.
I'm laughing.
Hey, the one I laughed out loud was with Norm. Hey, what you reading? A book? I I laughed out loud.
What are you reading about? There's so many genuine moments, and I feel like that's the crucible of having to perform in front of an audience. You're going to work on your time, and you're going to work on what's going to get you an actual laugh. And I think the humor here for me is I'm comparing this to Big Bang Theory, and I realize I'm totally crapping on it, and I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. That is sincerely not a funny show. Like, there are and I've watched it all. I got into a West mode where I just decided to watch all of Big Bang Theory, and I watched every single episode, and there was probably a hit rate of maybe one genuine laugh out of every 3 episodes. And
oh, wow.
Eventually it got a little bit higher as I got familiar with, 1 or 2 of the characters, and I was like, oh, this is an endearing person. But it's a really low hit rate, and I was just frustrated with their overuse of laugh tracking, where here everything is completely naturalistic, and you feel the audience, even if some of the jokes aren't necessarily hard laugh lines, right? They do a lot of easy one-liners, especially with Carla. She's got this brutish, hard slugging, hard comedy, but there's also a lot of character-based humor. Like an odd literary reference is humorous based on the context of being in a bar. And,
Done.
Right. And the disinterest from the people around them. Like, the laugh isn't necessarily the line, it's the genuine, we understand this is a character saying a thing that no one else likes or cares about, and everyone's rolling their eyes. And that gets a genuine laugh, even if it's not like this zippy zinger, comeback or retort. Like, not all of the humor, I would say maybe only a third or a quarter of the humor, if I can put it into a percentage, is based on cutting on other people. Like, it's not a bunch of put downs. It's just people kind of living life and having fun with one another. And that is genuine joy that you have with these characters.
And can you, because we're talking about the writing, just talk about how brilliant it had to be to introduce all of these characters. Like, you don't lose any of these characters for years, right? Mm-hmm. Coach how long was Coach?
He made it all the way through the first 3 seasons before he passed away, and they picked up Woody.
He actually passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were introduced to everyone right up front and to exactly their character within 25 minutes, man. And no one is missing out on screen time. Like, everybody gets their due. They have their lines, they have their moments, and when you feel like you've been away from them too long, it comes back to them. But you also know the 2 main characters. You know Diane and you know Sam. Those are the 2 main characters, and you know that. You're well aware of that. And then to insert drama and sadness is just unreal. It was, I'm watching it now in 2020 thinking, God, I want this now. Like, I wish this could have been made in 2020. I would be all over it. This is incredible. Like, the gamut of feelings coming through. It opens quietly with Sam just in the bar by himself, right? And then and then people start trickling in. You don't even notice because the bar is empty, right? And then some people come in, but there's a conversation happening, so you're not even noticing the people come in. And then, 30 seconds later, the bar is full. And you're like, how the hell did this happen? There were just 3 people in here a second ago, and now there's a bunch of people. I didn't even notice them come in. And then the end, where it's, I was sitting there, I was watching it on Hulu, and it's like 25 minutes and 36 seconds long, or 46 seconds long, right? Diane welcomes her first people, like, that she serves in, with like 24 minutes and 40 seconds. She has under a minute to establish the end of the pilot. To me, that's unbelievable that you can do that with such a short amount of time and so poignantly setting up the whole rest of the show with the way that it ends. It's like, she's so excited. She's getting something that she wants. And then, just the rug gets pulled out from under her at the very end of that, and then boom, that was it. And Sam and Coach just smile, and that's it. It's so freaking perfect.
It's perfect. And what I love about this, and I think it speaks to exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about the gamut of emotions, is it's a very sincere show. Like, this isn't very glib, and it's not frowning on like the middle class or the lower class. It doesn't feel like anybody's better than anybody else, even though they bring in these dynamics just to explore them, like Diane being this kind of upper class jerk, and who is condescending and is looking down on everyone in there. They use that as a method to, have the lower class have an opportunity to punch up, but you never really feel that they're punching down, which is really important whenever your audience is supposed to be people who go to bars and appreciate, that every bar is going to have its regulars, and you're going to have your Cliff Clavens who think they know everything. But they never overly caricaturize any of these characters. Norm is never a lush, right? He drinks a lot, but you also never see him, at least not in the pilot and not in anything I've seen so far, like losing control, and he's just
he falls
genuinely
asleep. That's it.
Right. He naps at the bar. Yeah. and to your point, like the way that they were so efficient and smart in setting up every character, when we meet Diane, the first thing that she does is answer the phone. She doesn't work there yet.
Yeah.
And has no plans on working there, but she's so annoyed that the phone is ringing. So I'm going to answer the phone in this bar.
Yeah.
And so that
establishes her. That's her.
Right. It's her personality to a T, just meddlesome and knows better than anybody else. And meanwhile, it also perfectly sets up Sam, who's dodging a phone call from a woman that he slept with, and using that as an avenue to hit on another woman, which is setting up the dynamic of him and Diane that goes on for a while. And it's just so perfect. I just was in awe, same as you. Maybe I didn't notice some of the things you did like that. As I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. It opened on an empty bar that slowly fills up. The thing that I really love that you were talking about too is I love that they open so simply. Like the pilot episode, you open and your focus isn't even on the bartender, isn't on your main character. The focus is on a kid trying to get a drink. He's trying to cheat his way into a drink. And so you establish that Sam has morals, like he's a good guy. He's not running a chamois outfit. But you also establish that there's life that happens inside the bar. And so you feel...
he's funny. He's funny and like glib.
Right. Yeah. He shuts him down in a very kind way. Like he's not a jerk to him, but he's also, he's got a smart aleck running him for sure. And you get to see that there's a community here, and they really do a great job of keeping that community going. Like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of bit parts that happen. Even in that clip when they're talking about the sweaty contest, they let some other guy that you don't see again ever. But he gets a chance to chime in, and that's just like a bar. Like you don't see this in other sitcoms where some random passerby, suddenly is in the conversation and he's weighing in and they're listening to him and they're taking him serious. Yeah. Like they treat everyone there as if they know your name already. And that's,
good.
That leads me into the transition into the song is my favorite. Like watching this, I enjoy probably the first 3 minutes more than any other part of the show, just because of that transition. They'll get a laugh line, and then it's just this very soulful transition into the theme song. Whereas most shows, and I really struggle to think of, any modern show for sure that allows that to happen, because normally what they'll do is they'll go for a really hard laugh line and then smash cut to the theme song. Yeah. And that's a great, and there's utility to that for sure. But here it feels so much more sincere to allow that laugh line to kind of die out as you ease into the theme song that is all about making you feel good and feel at home and feel a part of a group and a part of a community.
And it also the song starts really low. It's like one instrument, right? So you kind of have to, it's pretty jarring to like cut off a laugh to go to this ding, you kind of have to let it die down, it's just this whole ebb and flow that at least the pilot and the whole show, from what I remember, it had. And really, really good point.
they're not afraid. Like if you go on to watch episode 2, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of moments in there where there might be 2 or 3 minutes without a laugh, without a joke.
I love that.
And it completely shocked me. Like the first time I've been watching through this, and I'm like, these moments unfold, and I'm just engrossed with the characters and what they're doing. And I'm realizing like, man, no one's making a joke. They're taking life seriously right now. And it's because there was nothing organic to joke about. And they'll still find these moments where there's something serious happening, and they'll find the humor in that for sure. But they're also not afraid to just let a few moments go by without, forcing you into a laugh. And nothing feels cheaper than just kind of a laugh that doesn't really fit into the scene.
I felt like not all of them, but like most of the lines, most of the things that people said are things that people might possibly say, except for maybe Coach, like, that is anybody, oh, it's you, Coach. Oh, okay. Yeah. Except maybe that, but like stuff like, what you reading, a book? Like, it's fantastic. Are you kidding me? Or like everybody staring at somebody and then looking away, like that happens. And, so it felt really natural. So like, and in most, I hate sitcoms. I hate them. I've always hated them. I feel like they drag on and on and on and everything, but I can't wait to go back and watch more of this. Because of that, I feel like that's what I want. I want humanity in it. I don't want obvious scripted lines and like stuff that's always funny and maybe every, like 2 seasons I'll get a serious episode. But then even then it's like way too serious the whole time, half the time, And Cheers, especially, this was such a great example. It's like you'd have a moment of like super seriousness where she's just lost the love of her, like the last 2 years of her life. And that was like serious. And then it's broken, right? But then we come back to it and you revisit that heartbreak and then you break it again. It's just like this whole ebb and flow thing, and they do it so well. And they're not. It's I can't wait to go back and watch some more because I want to feel that some more, And by the way, when that music started, normally I skip. I did not skip at all. I was like, oh my gosh! I remember sitting in my chair upstairs in my house and watching this on this old rickety TV that like you had to turn the knob to change the channel, and I only got 3 channels and Cheers was one of them, and it came on at like 9:30 or something. And I watched this, I watched Mama's Family, and a couple others, but yeah, it was one so endearing.
And to that point, like I feel, and I'm certainly open to arguments against this, but I think this is the best theme song of all time, and probably for my buck the best intro montage of all time. I would struggle to put something that I think is certainly more iconic, but just better and drives home the point of community and the environment and the history.
I totally agree that it's the best. I think that there are others that probably are just because it's so long ago. Mm-hmm. Cheers is so long ago. There's probably more people now that remember like Friends, or I don't know, maybe The Simpsons just because it's still on. But even then, they're not better. They just might be more well known because of the times.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Best of all time. All time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. As far as recognition, there's probably more recognizable, but as far as personal taste goes, that's greatest of all time.
I totally agree, man.
Oh wow. Man,
I didn't think of that.
So the only other thing that I really have here is it's still a very satisfying show, even though it's heavily episodic and there's not a ton of serialization. Like, and by that I mean every episode is usually self-contained, so you can hit play on almost any episode and you'll be fine. Like you're not going to really miss much. They start to get a little more serialized later in the show, but even that's pretty light-handed. You never feel lost, I would think, if you picked it up on one of these episodes. You would have your grounding very quickly and not feel like, oh, I need to go back. Whereas a lot of other, there's some other sitcoms, and we'll probably cover one next week, that you probably want to watch them in sequence in order to get the best bang for your buck. But here, I think you can pick up any episode, and even if you didn't watch the pilot, you could probably listen to this whole conversation and recognize every single thing that we're talking about just from playing, a 60-second clip, and you'll be right there with it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got, man.
What you reading? I just have that in my head. I can't get it out of my head. I don't even know. Because that was in 1981? 1983?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that? That was probably the first time somebody had said something like that. Right. Now everybody says it all the time. That's probably been used several times. But man, so good.
Great.
So good. Yeah. Thank you for offering this for this week. This is fantastic.
Heck yeah.
I'm gonna go finish all the seasons now.
There's 11. That's an impressive number of seasons that they ended up. They ended up with, and this is just a side note as I was kind of doing a little research, they ended up making 275 episodes, of which James Burrows, the director here and one of the creators of the show, he directed 237 of those episodes. So nearly every single episode was directed by the same man, which is really damn impressive. I don't know how you don't get tired of that. Well, although I guess if you worked with that group of people, it would be hard to not want to go to work every day.
Yeah, and I wonder how long the takes were.
Oh,
I was thinking that while I was watching this. I was thinking, man, I bet they memorized a lot of these lines, and they're probably just rolling through them, because there were a couple of cuts that I could tell or that I felt like they just cut to a different camera, but this is the same take.
Yeah. Yep.
So who knows?
A solid 3-camera setup where you can really get a lot of coverage and all the moments.
Yeah, and I've never really I've never done worked on an episodic live studio audience kind of thing, so I don't really know is the idea to try to go through the entire episode or an entire scene, however long it is. Do you set let's try to get through this whole thing, and then you stop, and then you get direction or something? I don't know how. Is it more like Saturday Night Live where you're no, just go?
Yeah, my impression, and I've never seen BTS of Cheers, but I've seen some behind the scenes of Friends, and they'll be working through moments in front of the audience. They rehearse all week so that you're ready to film on Friday, and then on Friday's go day. That's when you've worked out all the kinks, all your moments. But even then, you're still working out. Sometimes there's certain moments that just aren't clicking. You can feel that from the feedback of the audience. And in those moments, you're like, let's try it this way. And they'll do another take. But when you begin and end those moments, you're right. I don't know when you choose, we're going to take it again from when Diane enters the bar, or when Cliffy enters the bar. We're going to go from there, guys, from that. And that'll be our top right now. Go, from the top. Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine you kind of just pick those moments and maybe... Yeah, I don't know. That's probably...
I don't know. Might be organic. Who knows?
Yeah, it might be.
Who knows?
Cool. So what are you going to recommend this week?
I'm going to recommend Waco on Netflix, which I just finished last night. I remember that happening, but, I was 13 and didn't know anything, really. And so it was just... I remember what I was told. And I don't know how much of this is... I know it was written by one of the guys. It was based off a book written by one of the guys from the compound. So there's that. But if everything went down that way, I was in tears. I have not watched a show that I actually openly wept multiple times. I can't tell you the last time.
It's just horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And from what I've read and because I had that same reaction. Is this really the way it happened? This is outrageous. This is criminal. This should not be what's happening right now. And yeah, it's really emotional. It's unforgivable. What happened?
Yeah, Totally. I don't want to give anything away. Yeah. Everybody knows what happens in the end, but
But if you're only used to it from that media perspective, then you will be surprised.
You should 100% go watch this, if for no other reason to like get a different perspective from someone who is actually part of it. Because the only information I ever got was information that I heard via the news and maybe something that I heard from my parents or something, but I don't remember. I mean, when I was a kid, I avoided that stuff. Like I didn't want to know anything about anything, really, you know. So I didn't have any other perspective, and this was like, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard, but once I started, I couldn't stop. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, Taylor Kitsch just puts on the greatest acting of his career. Like, it's absolutely 100%. Mesmerizing how amazing he is.
Oh, and it's I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name. The negotiator.
Oh, I don't even remember. I only can see Taylor Kitsch in my head every time I think of that show.
He's been in like everything. He's an amazing actor. The main negotiator.
Oh, Michael Shannon.
Thank you. Gosh, I'm like, he's huge. He's a huge actor.
Yeah, he's massive.
Michael Shannon destroyed me in this movie too. Just is unbelievable. Like everybody, really.
Yeah, it's a shocking cast. Like everyone is incredible. Julia Garner,
the Culkin brother.
Rory Culkin is a freaking hoss. It's worth going through his library because he's just made so many great films. And apparently now TV. He just doesn't stop. Nice, man.
Anyway,
great.
Definitely go watch it.
Great recommendation. I'm going to recommend The Good Place, which is polar opposite of, in a lot of ways, it's the polar opposite of Waco in terms of feelings. It's Ted Danson and, oh my God, Kristen Bell. If you want to be absolutely surprised in all the best ways, The Good Place looked like this kind of paint by numbers comedy. And so I put off watching it for a while, but it just kind of kept popping up on like Reddit. People would make a comment like a reference to The Good Place, and then someone would comment underneath, "Oh my God, that show's amazing. Why isn't anybody watching it?" And so after a number of times, I was in New Zealand visiting Joe, and they had it on their Netflix over there. I tend to do this a lot where if I'm visiting a place internationally, I always look at what is on their Netflix that isn't on ours, and I'll watch that. That's why I started watching Big Bang Theories, because I was in Ireland and they had Big Bang Theory on Netflix. So I was like, I'm doing that. And same thing with The Good Place. I ran through that, which I think it's still on our Netflix. 100%. You will be raving about the show if you watch it. Like,
really
get through, I don't know, just a few episodes, but really get through the first season, and you're going to just be like, everyone needs to watch this. And it just finale'd. So there's a whole arc to it that they just wrapped up. You have the best time in the world right now with like 5 seasons of uninterrupted brilliance coming at you and just punching you in the face. And Kristen Bell is...
it's on Netflix?
Yeah, it should be. It's either Netflix or Hulu, but I think it's...
Hulu? It's Netflix and Hulu, yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Kristen Bell's hilarious. Like, she is a genuinely hilarious actor. And so, yeah, highly recommend that. Check it out.
Wow.
And, of course, you'll see both of those things in the show notes. If you want to leave us a note on this episode, on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/cheers. And don't forget to subscribe and review us on iTunes or any other podcasting platform that you listen to us on. And stay tuned for next week when we tackle the pilot episode of Friends.
One of your favorite shows.
Yeah.
All right. All right, cool. So we'll leave you with the quote of the day from Shakespeare's Henry VI. Interesting. And I will make it felony to drink small beer. From the year
1592. I was just blown away.
1592.
I was just curious. I was like, we're in this lower class, middle class, setting of a bar, and they're all drinking beer. And I was just curious because it feels like it's not supposed to have this high-minded thinking, and they constantly mock literature and quality films. And throughout the show, it just becomes a punching bag that Diane gets to throw out, like, you brutes, why don't you appreciate whatever, Proust or whatever. And so I was just curious, like, they're drinking beer. That's kind of the main drink. And I want to know, has Shakespeare ever said anything about beer? And there were several quotes about him and beer, and usually he's talking about ale, but in this case it seems like he's talking about actual beer. And I was just like, that's how amazing beer is. It's been around certainly for over 500 years, and even Shakespeare inserted it into the greatest collective works of English ever made. And so even though it's the commoner's drink, beer should not be looked down upon, maybe. That's my take.
Certain kinds of beer maybe should.
Sure, I'll give you that.
But beer in general, definitely not.
Right.
That's fantastic. That's cool.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Well, this was great, man. Thanks for the recommendation there.
Thanks.
Yeah. So join us next week. We'll be doing Friends. This is a quicker one. We actually got through one in under an hour. Unbelievable. First one ever. Join us next week. We'll be doing the pilot for Friends. Until then, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch the movies.